Yeah, it's the Breakfast Club, bitches.
Who's Donkey of the Day today?
Donkey of the Day for Thursday, February 20th goes to former three-time mayor Mike Bloomberg. I think this is Mike's second time getting it within the past week, but it's not just Mike Bloomberg today. It's whoever the hell his prep team was for last night's debate. If you have been paying attention over the past week, one, you know Mike Bloomberg was making his debut on the debate stage last night, and you also know that every single Democrat on that stage was going to come at him, and rightfully so. Okay, Mayor Bloomberg has a history of overseeing one of the most racist pieces of legislation in American history with stop and frisk. He also has a history of making wild comments about women, and he had to know that these shots were coming at him last night, but yet he wasn't prepared. Now, I know Mike Bloomberg has no problem dropping that bag. I would think he would hire the best debate prep team he could find, but clearly that wasn't the case because he got smoked on everything. All right? Now, we all know Mike Bloomberg is worth like $60+ billion, so he clearly gets the bag, flips it, and tumbles it. But when it comes to the debate questions, he got the bag and fumbled it badly. Okay, Mike and his debate team, y'all know the stop and frisk question was coming, and it's the best answer you could come up with. Let's hear it.
Well, if I go back and look at my time in office, the one thing that I'm really worried about, embarrassed about, was how it turned out with stop and frisk. When I got into office, there were 650 murders a year in New York City. And I thought that my first responsibility was to give people the right to live. That's the basic right of everything. And we adopted a policy which had been in place, the policy that all big police departments use of stop and frisk. What happened, however, was it got out of control. And when I discovered that we were doing too many stop and frisks, we cut 95% of it out.
If I was Mayor Bloomberg, okay, or if I was on his debate team, I would have said to him, when the question of stop and frisk comes up, just simply say, I messed up. In fact, I might have cursed and said, I effed up, just like most of us on this stage have when it comes to legislation that disproportionately discriminates against black and brown people. I messed up. It was wrong. And I will spend every dime I got trying to fix the damage I created. And you know nobody on this stage got more dimes than me. Then I would have pivoted to Joe Biden and said, I messed up with stop and frisk the same way you messed up with the 94 crime bill. And then I would have turned to Bernie Sanders and said, you voted for that terrible policy called the 94 crime bill. Joe, can you admit the 94 crime bill was terrible and led to the mass incarceration of so many black and brown people all over America? Then drop the mic and watch Biden look how you looked when Elizabeth Warren was checking your ass all night, Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg knew that they were going to come at him over his history of comments to women. And this is the answer he came up with. And, he got pressed by Elizabeth Warren so bad. Let's hear it.
I have no tolerance for the kind of behavior that the Me Too movement has exposed. And anybody that does anything wrong in our company, we investigate it. And if it's appropriate, they're gone that day.
The mayor has to stand on his record, and what we need to know is exactly what's lurking out there. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is that?
Let me finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me put.
Yeah, he was accused of making inappropriate jokes, saying overly sexual things. I get it. Only thing you can do in that situation is apologize. And you had to know the women on that stage were going to slam you hard for that, and rightfully so. No need to get defensive about it. Just state the facts, apologize for what you feel you said wrong, and keep it moving. But the problem I have is the hypocrisy from Democrats in regards to Bloomberg, because we can't act like aides on Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign team didn't make accusations of sexism and sexual harassment against the campaign. Bernie's campaign manager even admitted that there had been a failure, and Bernie promised that the same thing wouldn't happen in 2020. We can't act like as if Sanders' aides didn't request a meeting with Senator Sanders to discuss discuss the issue of sexual violence and sexual harassment during the 2016 campaign. If you can hold Bloomberg accountable for what happens at his businesses, then hold Bernie accountable for what happened during his 2016 campaign. Bloomberg's prep team, why didn't you have him prepared with those clapbacks? The information is out there for anybody to find. And Joe Biden, just last year they were calling him Creepy Uncle Joe. We forgot about Lucy Flores and Amy Lapos and other women who accused Joe Biden of inappropriate behavior. Remember all those stories last year, Joe Biden touching women inappropriately and invading their personal space? Why didn't Mike Bloomberg's team prepare him with all that smoke? You can't vilify me if you got the same dirt that I do. You ever heard that saying, don't judge me because I sin, because you sin too? This, what you saw last night, is the political version of that. And that's why I hate politics, because of the hypocrisy, and nobody is honest. If they were being honest, then all of them would put their BS on the table and address it all. But since Bloomberg isn't considered a real Democrat, they jump him for the same issues that people on that stage are accused of. Look, I think everybody's history on everything is fair game, but the key word is fair. I want everybody to get pressed, and I want everyone to get questioned, and Mike Bloomberg had the lane to do that last night based off how he knew folks were going to come at him, and he failed. Mike, fire your prep team. All right? It's some folks on social media you can hire that's better than whoever you got now. Bloomberg could have talked about the 200 inner cities he's giving money to. He could have talked about his Greenwood initiative, which is his black agenda to bring economic justice to black America. The guy's got a plan to create 1 million new black homeowners, 100,000 new black-owned businesses in the next decade. He wants to invest $70 billion in the country's most, poor and disenfranchised neighborhoods. But none of that came up because he's too busy defending himself against things his rivals on that stage are also accused of. The moral of the story is politics suck. And I don't know how the Democratic Party got here, okay? The candidates after President Obama were supposed to get blacker, browner, younger, and smarter. Instead, we got old white men on stage arguing about how many heart stents they have had over the years.
And I think the one area maybe the Mayor Bloomberg and I share, you have 2 stents as well. All right.
25 years ago.
Please give Mike Bloomberg and whoever prepped him for the debates last night the biggest ER.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
Donkey of the Day is brought to you by the law office of Michael S. Lamonsoff. Don't be a donkey. Dial pound 250 on your cell and say the bull if you've been hurt in a construction accident. That's pound 250 from your cell and say the bull.